laughing. I think we're live.
Ooh,
I will never know.
So,
I will never know. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, Jess.
Yeah, don't ever expect us to know when we're live.
No, now it's intentional. I don't even care to know if it's real.
Here we are.
We're here.
Probably live.
It's suicide and stuff. Emphasis and stuff. We have a rating.
Emphasis on suicide too.
I mean, I guess. We're rated R.
Ooh, yeah, for what?
Bad words.
Bad words. Gonna cuss a lot.
You know, I actually don't think we cuss that much, but
I think I do.
I guess it depends.
I can change that.
Okay. We'll see how cussing there is tonight.
All right, very good.
Okay. Let's vote about the best cusser. I don't really know what qualifies a person for that, but you all can vote. So we'll start with some introductions. I'm really excited. I am always this excited about suicide and stuff, but I'm really excited because there's Val. Because we are going to talk about passive suicidal thoughts or suicide, which is a really poorly defined thing in the field. And we have guests that we love, and this time we're not all sick. So I'm really excited about that. I am Jess. I work at Rocky Mountain Crisis Partners, which is the provider of Colorado statewide peer support line, crisis line, as well as a bunch of other stuff. And I do work in critical psychology on top of that. All I ever is talk about suicide. So that does, and I also started a podcast because all of that other stuff wasn't enough. Des, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. I'm Dese'Rae Stage. I am a suicide attempt survivor and lots of other things that I can't think of right now. I run Live Through This, which is a series of portraits and true stories of suicide attempt survivors across the U.S. And I'm based in Philly, and we're here with my neighbor, Anastasia, who is going to talk now.
Great. Literally. I'm Anastasia Fujii. I'm a clinical social worker in private practice in Philly. I work mostly with queer and trans folks and folks of color, and I do a lot of training and consulting around oppression, how to not do it, how to be better about it, cultural humility, as we call it, and
I like oppression better than cultural humility.
Me too. I love working that into my pitch.
Yeah. Yes. And then Carly is actually my neighbor, but we're not next to each other right now. She's both my office neighbor and my real life neighbor.
I don't think I knew you guys were neighbors
together.
Oh God.
Because that's how we are. So
lots of boundaries.
Yourself?
Yes, I am Carly Larson. As was previously stated, I work at Rocky Mountain Crisis Partners as the opioid response coordinator. I do a lot of work around harm reduction and moving addiction discussion away from the abstinence continuum. And I also I am a non-abstinent person in recovery. That's what I should have started with.
It's also in the bio you sent me today.
Yeah.
Yes. I had thought I sent that like 3 other times.
Okay.
ADHD brain where I remind myself 40 times and it's like a 1 in 50 success rate. So there's just like a 10 extra times that I missed.
Look, that's fine.
I sent mine today too, and I think after you. So, Yell at her. Yell at them.
I will shame both of you publicly. Shame.
Yeah.
Okay, what are we talking about?
That's good. Well, we're talking about passive SI. First, let's start with what makes the two of you interested in suicide or suicidology or suicide prevention. Any of those?
Beyond trying not to kill yourselves, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Or it can also be about trying not to kill yourselves.
Well, I guess like that's a good starting place. I feel like my own experiences and experiences of folks in my community growing up, I mean, suicide was really present in my life from a young age. And I think I got into the work that I do because there weren't really clinicians doing work within my community in ways that resonated. And there's Phil, my other neighbor. Hello. And yeah, so I think, for me, I think suicide is just intrinsically a part of the work that I do and a part of my lived experience.
As for me, I have been obsessed with death, I think since like I was 4, maybe 5. I feel like that's pushing it, whether that was like my death or others' deaths or like just death in general. Unhealthy obsession, basically from a very young age. And so like my quote unquote attempt would have been a little bit later on, and it took me a long time to call it an attempt, and I still sometimes flounder on that kind of identifier. But I think I am really big on kind of talking about not being a human really hard, and like the ways that we deal with that, whether it's using some coping skills that are socially accepted or some methods that maybe are more looked down upon by society, not by me.
Oh, so now you all can tell why we're friends with these people.
Like death a lot.
Creeps real into death.
Also, every single one of us is not wearing a color.
Yeah, that's the rules.
Blue in my hair. That's a lot of color.
I have gray in my hair, but I guess that doesn't count.
I like gray.
That's just a sign of slowly dying. Cool.
Well, more quickly than before, I think.
Okay, so I have some questions for us. The first one is like, what is passive suicidal ideation? People, especially clinicians, say it all the time, but like, what the fuck does that even mean? Do you know what it means? Do you know what it means?
It's just how I live.
Well, my friend is watching with her 3-year-old daughter, so this is good.
I have to be honest that this is not a term I've ever used. I have heard it amongst peers. I think I came to understand my own experience, what we would call passive suicide, like much after the fact, when a therapist said to me, I think you were just slowly suiciding for a long time. And I was like, yeah. So I think slow suicide is sort of the way I thought about my own experience. And as Des knows, and maybe Jess also knows, this is actually the first time I'm publicly talking about this ever. So welcome.
Good job.
I think for me, when I think about this like construct of like a suicide that's like less active or slower, I mean, I think of it as someone engaging in behaviors that could or likely will lead to death with some amount of intent. And I think intent can really range. I think in my own experience, which, I am chronically ill, and a big part of my earlier experiences was like stopping taking or diminishing taking medication that keeps me alive. And later was about substance abuse and the kind of mix of those two things. And so I think, if someone had really stopped and asked me, do you know if you could die because of these things? I would have said yes, but no one was asking. And so I didn't really see it as an attempt, although now looking back on it, I was very close to dying several times.
I have zero clinical knowledge about passive suicide. I know it from seeing the words. I couldn't tell you what is the appropriate definition or anything. I think for me, passive suicide is just if death happens, whoops. You're just really pretty numb to living or dying. So for me, I knew that I really didn't want to live, but I also knew that and at the time I really filled with shame that I didn't have the strength to just off myself, and kind of chose a method that takes a long time, but was also something I was comfortable with. So like mine was substance use. So just slowly trying to not wake up anymore, because I knew that was something that happened to people who drank time, as some of them didn't wake up. And I was like really hoping for that. That was on top of my brain every time I took a shot, went to bed, anytime, was just like really not wanting to wake up anymore, in a way that like I didn't have to do much to make it happen. Like I was already drinking a ton, so there was nothing new about that. Anything else would have been me like taking an explicit action that immediately kills myself, which was too much for me to handle. So it was much more, I like the slow suiciding, is probably my favorite term now. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
We have like a suicide dad joke in the comments.
Yeah, it's good.
Hold on, I need to pop that up on the screen here. You guys can't see that. But
Jazz.
Being actively suicidal is that when you jog when suicidal. That I'm never actively suicidal.
I like that one.
I didn't see that one yet. Jazzercidal.
That one.
Joel. Very good.
Oh, Leia's asking about like who came up with the passive and active slang. I'm not really sure. I can tell you in this settings, we do not people here. I'm not teaching people. They're coming into the people's notes and things like that all the time. People refer to suicidal thoughts. I'm sure that I entirely understand what that means. I guess for me, I am like passively suicidal all the time, and then sometimes I'm more or something or harder, more energy about it.
Out of 10, where are we today?
Yeah.
But like, I think with yours, it's more just the thoughts, not so much any action tied to it necessarily. Right?
Now. I think like when I was really actively suicidal, I also was like doing all kinds of stuff that would be considered like passively suicidal. But this is like not, I don't think this is a clinical term that I know of. But I do think there's like implications when people say passive. They're trying to say that it's like less lethal or less serious, but that doesn't line up with like the experience I'm hearing from either of you. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I unfortunately think there's also like a liability factor. Like I sometimes get referrals from other providers who use the term passive, and I always wonder, especially when I've met the person I'm going to be working with and it's not that passive, like if that's about saying like I did an assessment and I'm not, like I've assessed that this person is like okay. And I think that we often then like really get astray because we're not really considering like what it means to be suicidal in like a more full sense. Like, yeah, pace is relevant if it's unlikely someone's going to like die in the moment. But like Carly was saying, in my experience too, like there were so many moments within this like passive or like slow space that I could have just died and kind of hoped I would. And I see that a lot with clients too. Like, you know, somebody who's like, you know, going out into the world and like driving under the influence frequently. Like they might not die, but they might at any one of those junctures. And I feel like that's as risky as many other behaviors we might consider active or that people typically do describe as active.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Some of that like imminent risk stuff gets trickier for clinicians when we're talking about people who are doing like slow suicide things. So, you know, if you're like drinking a little bit of something poisonous every day until like one day maybe you'll die or something like that, like that is harder for clinicians to predict. So I think they sometimes like that's not risk or something. Or also both. Someone in the comments says it comes from addiction is slow suicide. It's an idea that goes back to Benjamin Rush in the 1770s.
Oh, great.
Carly, you got thoughts on that?
It just reminds me of in a meeting somebody who said every heroin use is inherently suicidal. I kept my mouth shut because it was not a meeting that like I needed to go against the rift. But that bothers me a lot because I think it takes away intent and agency of the person. So like when I was drinking and drinking to die, like I was drinking to die. It wasn't just like, oh, like, yes, eventually like alcohol could kill me if I'm drinking it. If you have a poison supply of heroin, eventually using heroin might kill you. But not every shot does. Not every heroin dose. One heroin, please. I don't. Real bad with that language. Like, sorry. Like, not all heroin use is like going to lead to death. That's not why people do drugs. People don't do drugs to kill themselves until they unless they are, like, until they either get to a point where that's going to be their chosen method, or they're in the cycle of not wanting to be in this reality anymore, and not even in the kind of impaired reality that they seek out.
Yeah, I think we also like it gets used like for certain behaviors and not others. Like, why is heroin considered a suicidal behavior, but not like driving,
smoking cigarettes,
or smoking a cigarette? Yeah, like there's so many, and I think that is the way I see it broken down as like behaviors that like we like societally demonized are seen as suicidal, and ones that we see as like socially more acceptable are seen as like, oh yeah, maybe that's not great for your body, but it's fine.
Well,
like, look at all the like Instagram pictures of like white rock climbers who are on like the tip of a cliff and it gives you vertigo just looking at it. Like, that seems way more suicidal to me than anyone using heroin.
Hello, that's just outdoorsy.
It's no, like the real extreme ones.
No, I'm not.
I also do feel like the outdoors will kill me, so.
Definitely it will kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah, just ask Des how she felt when we tried to get her to go camping.
Absolutely fucking not. Do not take me outside. I don't want it. I don't want it.
Yeah, same.
Like with the drinking piece, like I always notice on intake forms that the question is always how many drinks do you have in a day, and never why do you drink. And I think why do you drink gets at so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
like it doesn't matter that I'm drinking. I mean, it matters, but not for anything that I'm drinking a liter of vodka a day. Like, why do I feel the need to drink my own weight in alcohol every night? Might have been better served.
Yeah, but God forbid we ask
that, Carly?
God forbid we ask people questions that they're going to give us actual responses to in our intake forms.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Intakes are the worst.
They are.
That's feels like maybe a lead-in to Beef Corner.
Beef Corner? Is it time?
That's pretty close.
All right.
It's time for Beef Corner.
I'm running it. Maybe, if it'll work. I don't know. I don't know if the software is going to cooperate with me. I guess we're just officially in Beef Corner and the software's not going to cooperate.
We're officially Beef Corner, no video for it.
Come on!
Imagine, bitch, I'm a cow.
Oh, there it is. Bitch, I'm a cow. And somehow the two of us are picture in picture. I don't know what's happening.
It's all right.
I don't know how to work this. It's fine. Beef Corner. It's good.
I always have beefs, and I could go on for long, so someone else should start.
I'm not prepared with my beefs yet.
Who's got a beef?
Hello, Brady Bunch.
I'll go.
Carly, away.
All right. So mine is going to be really specific, mostly to do with presenters at conferences without going into like too specific. I am running into a lot of treatment providers who, like, when talking about harm reduction or supporting people with substance use, guide them towards AA, or it's like the only one they know about. They're like, yeah, recovery, there's AA, and that's what I tell clients to go to. And I'm telling them they don't need to be abstinent, and like harm reduction methods, and like meeting them where they're at, but they're going to best be served in AA, which like that's just undoing all the like movement you're making if you're practicing harm reduction. So like a lot of, oh, I'm helping them deal with their guilt and their shame and like just looking at behaviors, but then I'm sending them to AA, which is like enforcing this black and white thinking and not allowing outside issues type deal. So yeah, treatment providers only knowing about AA. Be better at your job. Like there are just so many more options out there. Like literally your job, tell people challenged by their substance use, like you have to know more than AA. I cannot know more than you. Like that's not, do better.
Do better.
Do better.
Or just use Google if you don't know. Like I've certainly had to use the Google during, but like that's fine. Like you don't need to know everything as a provider. Just like know how to use your phone. That's good enough sometimes.
Yeah. Or like ask your client about like some things that they're talking about too. You could also do that.
I also have a second beef, but like I can wait till everyone else goes.
No, do your second beef.
Do it.
Okay. The moral panic over youth and social media.
Oh my God.
I just
worst.
like it's all like correlation is causation. Like kids are depressed. Kids are using their phones a lot. That's the reason why. I like so many of the statistics they throw out is like, well, kids are in front of a screen 8 hours a day, without delineating like what if that is schoolwork, what if that is productive, and like if it's not productive, whatever. They talk about decreased social interaction because they only measure social interaction by like in person.
Fucking
and not
for real.
like the great relationships we build online. And my biggest thing with that is like school busing has demolished our idea of the neighborhood. Kids don't live near the people they go to school with. So like they're not going to have like all these friends across the city who they could just be in front of at any point during the day. Like they're going to want to talk to their friend they went to school with who doesn't live in their neighborhood. And that's just like, I don't know, Karen, how many hours are you on your phone? You're probably on your phone more than a teenager.
Is Des's mom on?
Damn, why you gotta be so mean to Karen? I don't know where Karen's at.
I don't know.
I'll text her. Maybe she'll pop up.
Yeah, I love when her
like,
name pops up.
It's so belittling to the youth, too, who are, like, depressed and upset about very real issues that are completely not their time on the phone. And, like, we're not asking them about that and how they feel about the world they live in. It's just bitching at them that they're on their phone too much, and it's the reason they're depressed.
Yeah.
Do better, adults.
Seriously, if I didn't have the internet when I was 15 to find other fucking weirdos, I probably would have killed myself.
Same, yep.
Yep, same.
Anastasia, do you have a...
Yeah. Let me count the ways. I think my big one, the first one that came to mind was how often I have clients come to me and say that they're now afraid to go to their other providers, especially their psychiatrist, because they identified some small amount of ideation, and then their psychiatrist was like, I think I have to call this in, with like no other questions. And like I have clients not getting their meds sometimes, literally afraid to go to the person who is supposed to provide that level of care to them. And I find that really alarming. I mean, I've gotten on the phone with like so many different providers and been like, why are you doing this? Like you are making this person literally afraid to get the care that they need to not die. And it's just like, I feel like there's like, you know, it's like that fear. It's that like, I don't want to be responsible fear. But I think, yes, of course, there is a time and a place for everything. But I think the time and the place to call in somebody's ideation should pretty much never be. I mean, I think, you know, in the entirety of my time as a clinician, I think I 2 times have supported someone in going into the hospital because they wanted to, and that's it. And that's not because I'm an unethical provider. My clients are alive and well. And I think it's just like being willing to put in the extra time to really understand where someone's at and get them the support that they actually need. Especially, I think for me, like so many of my clients are trans folks and folks of color who are often like really aggressively mistreated in these settings. Yeah. And I have several clients. I mean, you know, I have a couple clients who have said like, I will kill myself before going into the hospital. So if that's what's about to happen, I will just die right now. Right. So like, that's very real to me. And I take that seriously. And, you know, I think there's absolutely a way that we can do our job and like cover licensure without putting clients in more jeopardy than they're in the moment. And I just feel like really pissed that it's like the number of providers that I actually will refer clients to is so tiny because this just happens like time and time again. I mean, you know, I've worked in Philly for 4 years, and I think this has been an issue for like 9 or 10 clients in 4 years. Like that feels like too much.
Yeah.
Jazz, you got any beefs?
I have so many that I can't even fucking figure out which one I want to talk about. But my mom is here. Karen has arrived.
I saw
Hi,
Karen's arrived.
Hi, Karen.
Carly was just talking shit about you, Mom.
I promise it wasn't about you directly.
Just your cell phone use, don't worry.
Just your cell phone use, the namesake.
I don't even know what my beefs are about. I'm mad at everything. You go, Jess.
Me first? Okay. So I have had a bunch of people be really mad at me because I said that I wanted in Moynihan.
Oh my God.
Really mad. Like I've gotten emails and phone calls.
Phone calls
And
too.
like saying like but like she's one of us. And okay, so I didn't tell anyone that they can't like her. I didn't tell anyone that they can't like DBT. Lots of people love DBT. That's fine. What I said was, if you are a person in a position of power, if you gain power and then you betray your people, that sucks. And then afterwards, after spending years betraying your people and telling everyone to never talk about their suicidal thoughts and just like climb into positions of power, then you decide to write a memoir about your lived experience. I think that's shitty. And you shouldn't do that. And that's a betrayal of your people. So y'all can get off of my back about Marsha Lynn. She's like fine. But I think that if you are in a position of power, if you come from a position of powerlessness into power, you are supposed to use that to lift other people up, not push them down. And you're punching the wrong direction. That's my beef.
I have noticed my Twitter feed is full of pictures of people who are reading that book.
I think that's fine. Like if you need to read a book by a clinician about lived experience because you won't go talk to people with lived experience who aren't going to use clinical language, like fine, read her book. But you might as well read like the DSM and then like I don't know. It's just stupid.
Can you imagine reading the DSM before bed for fun? No, actually, that would be a perfect time to read it.
Yeah. Des, you got another beef?
Oh, my beefs, I don't know. My beefs are with personal things.
Okay.
Is your beef with being a human being?
Yeah, fuck that shit.
Oh.
Fuck it so much. Also my beef is with like so much fucking reading for school.
Yes.
I am
Ableism.
not prepared for this. And with disorganization of the people in control of the reading and stuff.
Yeah.
Mad at it.
Education is a racket.
Can't wait to get those letters. I thought BS was enough.
Then you'll finally be qualified to talk to suicidal people.
Qualified. I will get a koala with my letters.
Hey, careful talking about koalas.
I love them.
I know, but I'm going to cry just thinking about them.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah.
These won't be on
Sensitive
fire.
topic. Need a trigger warning. Content warning.
Content warning. Koalas.
Koalas.
Oh, man.
Oh.
Any other beefs?
Who else has beefs? We did a solid 10 minutes of beefing. Really? That's all you guys got? Give us more than Marsha. I want to know. I want to know what you're thinking about. I haven't texted with you today, so I don't know what you're mad at.
Oh, you know what I'm angry about today? So I am angry about, like activist sort of language and approaches being like co-opted by mainstream bullshit all the time and then like used against activists. Pretty annoyed about that lately. It's like anytime like activists come up with like framing that's really powerful for their communities, it just gets like absorbed by like mainstream culture and then hegemonized, and it's like bullshit. And I would like to win sometimes, and it feels like we never win. So there's that. I'm mad about that. I think in particular about that in relationship to the concept of collective care, which I feel like is getting bastardized all over the place now, that comes out of like the disability justice movement. And now that came out of the disability justice movement because there aren't other spaces that are taking care of people. And now I hear it all the time in like clinical spaces, but it's sort of, I don't know, I just feel like it's being used as like a weapon against people, just like self-care is used as a weapon against people. So like, can we ever have anything good about taking care of ourselves without everybody fucking it up?
Nah.
Good.
Can't has it. I figured out what I'm mad about. I have beef with people who plagiarize the good work of other people who have been doing shit for a very long time and doing it well. And then they bust in and they're like, look at me with my hope porn. I'm mad at that. That's what I'm mad at. And
I am always mad about it.
I'm mad at people eating it up. Eating it up.
Yeah.
I did that without naming names.
Inspiration porn does make me want to die slowly.
Passively.
Or quickly. Depending on how close it is to me. And like how stuck I am in the situation.
Depending on how high up you are on a piece of bridgery.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't talk anymore.
I really hate inspiration porn. That's another thing that we can't have anything good about. Like, you're going to take our stories and ruin them too? Fucking hell. We can't have anything.
Cannot. Okay, what else? What's next on your thingamajig?
The beefs were depressing as usual. But next, I have some questions back to Passive SI. What do you think some of the biggest mistakes people make in their thinking or understanding about passive or slow? Now I'm going to call it slow suicide. Slow suicide?
Slow-aside.
Slow suiciding.
Slow-asiding.
Yeah, whatever. One of those. What are the biggest mistakes people make in their sort of thinking or perception about that?
Oh.
I think kind of the levity around it, not seeing it as like actually fatal when, if you're trying to take something or do something in a fatalistic manner, then like it eventually becomes fatal. I think I see this like on both sides of it. So like in treatment, you kind of have like the quick to want to push to another layer of support. Or it's kind of like, well, they're not that serious about it. Like they're just drinking, they're just using, these are normal activities for them. So like, we don't need to take this seriously, or asking like the why. It's just, well, just stop using, or just stop using that amount. And like, there's no follow through. I also think, as I said earlier, like I think of it as a suicide attempt. I still have some issues using that language because it's not always did in the lived realm. Because I don't know why. I think that there's always just kind of a lot of gatekeeping, which I think is some parts fair in the suicide world because, protecting one's own and lived experience, but needing to qualify your suicide attempt, I think passive SI just does not get taken, or passive SI or attempt, whatever, does like not get taken seriously. Trauma Olympics.
Hey.
Yeah, I feel like I have issues with the fact that clinicians don't adjust their language when talking about slow suicide. So, like, if you ask somebody, oh, like, ideation, plan, means, that might not get you closer to knowing what. I think in a slow using more open is better. Actually, like, task. Are you worried about going on with you? About you in this moment, like, I asked you the 3 questions and you said no to at least one of them, so like we're good. And I think that I see that happen a lot, and people just like really miss one another big time. I feel like for myself, I was engaging in behaviors for years, including I was like hospitalized and almost died, and even then no one said anything. It was not until being in therapy like a full year later with somebody who was like actually competent, and she started talking to me about it, and I was like, yeah, that was totally happening for years, including, I saw providers in a hospital setting. I saw a therapist. I saw a different therapist at my college. It was like a thing and a thing and a thing. And it was just like, oh, you don't like actively want to like insert the blank typical way that you might kill yourself, 18-year-old. Therefore, we're good. And I think that that's the biggest thing, or one of the biggest things, is like how we ask questions about somebody wanting to die. And I feel like I get it wrong too sometimes, because it's hard. I think it is hard sometimes to know, like when someone's talking about, drinking or substance use or like other like risk-taking behaviors, I think it can be hard to like suss out if someone's trying to die or not. But I think we can get there. And I think, not to be all like relational therapist on you, but like I do think like the relational part is big. Like I think that's why I've become so much more transparent in my own work over the years about like, yeah, I struggle with mental illness. Yes, I have attempted. Yes. As in the beginning of my work, I felt really afraid to do that. But I think it's necessary now. So why not have at it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just think people ask the wrong questions, and it's disappointing because I think we are like so, I don't know. It's like such a privilege to like be with somebody in a therapeutic relationship, and there's like so much possibility, and people just like get it wrong all the time. And, I get it wrong a lot of the time too, let's be clear, but I just think that these are questions that are pretty like basic level, like hi, I care about you questions. Like they shouldn't, you don't need to like read Marsha Linehan or like go to extra school to like just be a human being to one another.
Are you happy to wake up on a daily basis?
Yeah, like.
Oh yeah. Deb, do you have any comments on the biggest mistakes?
No. I'm just here to listen today. Let's be real.
I think one of the biggest mistakes people make in their thinking about that is that they just categorize all of that as borderline. They're just like, oh, you're thinking about suicide a lot, but you don't mean it. You must be borderline, which is like not an accurate depiction of what those things are like for people. So that would be my thoughts about biggest mistakes. But I also think something that's interesting is that like people who are thinking about suicide or acting on suicidal thoughts in this way would definitely like hit on some screening tools, on a lot of screening tools. But generally would be like, if you're using like a formal risk assessment tool, they're probably going to be considered like not risky at all. So people who are reaching out for help are often going to be missed, who are having this experience. So obviously these like mainstream interventions aren't designed for them. So like what does help people who are having this experience?
Getting to be honest and open about it, which in a lot of those spaces, there's like probably a limitation or boundary to how much you're going to reveal. Yeah. So me being able to text a friend and be like, I am a hot, like 10 out of 10 today. I got to go to work though. So like, can't really deal with this right now. Got to go get in my car and be a productive member of society. But like getting to release that tension a little bit and just be honest about it and then have someone not put the blame on you. Like, well, you like just need to go work out more, or try putting a crystal in your vagina, I think might help.
Or you could steam it.
Yeah. Yep. I don't plan on doing that. Good. I'm not in the income bracket for goop. It's like a solid 4 income brackets above me.
I hope she's watching.
Oh. I don't even remember what we're talking about now. Oh yeah, what helps people?
Goop.
Goop.
Goop, yeah.
Who told her that was a good marketing plan, that title? Like, come on.
Just all of it, though.
People are talking about it. People are watching it. And even if it's to make fun of it, like, I don't know.
Phil made me put it on the other night. Oh, there's a baby situation.
No.
Put a crystal in its diaper. Start them young.
Oh, God. Yeah. So, other things that work.
It's the crystals.
Anybody trying to keep this train on the tracks?
Only answer. I'm going to have to really shift my practice from now on. Thank you, Carly. Never going to look at the crystal in my office the same ever again.
Well, are you going to look at it once it's up in your vagina?
That's true. I don't have eyes in there, as best as I know. Maybe teeth.
Use a mirror for that.
Oh, yeah. Tawanda style.
Tawanda!
Wow.
So we were really getting at some meat there.
Space for honesty.
Right. So, like, being cool and honest, peer support, I heard in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, taking the time, like, realizing that if you just actually talk to someone, it's likely they'll feel better. Like, that seems so basic, especially for a therapist, but, like, come on. Like, I think people get really hyped the second they hear something about death, and then they, like, forget to be a human being because they're so busy being a robot who's, like, panicking. And I think, like, if you just, I don't know, like, I feel like that happens kind of a lot in therapy where someone starts off really not okay, and they might end not okay either, but also, like, trusting that your clients actually can, like, be in the world not okay the same way that we all are, and that's okay, actually.
Yeah. And that, like, they've been in the world not okay, you know, before you.
Yeah, you're not
Jesus after you.
Jesus Christ was not an LCSW, just saying.
Oh.
Yeah.
Des, do you have any thoughts?
The whole
You
being...
were a 10 out of 10 recently.
Oh, I was a 10 out of 10 on Friday. Easy.
Yeah.
Anastasia got to witness some of that. It was a good time.
I literally came over and danced for you in a chair.
Yeah.
I think I was at like a 9.
A video of Carly reacting to a woman on Twitter.
Yep. That happened.
It did happen. Things that
Shout
helped.
out to Becky D.
Shout out to Becky D. Brought me down
Twitter's
to a 9.
lesbian girlfriend.
Hey. Yes, text your friends. I don't know. That helps. Actually being able to
Friend
support
memes.
people. Friend memes, yes. Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing about being driven by fear is really annoying, and we need to do more of the sitting with our uncomfortable feelings and working through them instead of fucking being driven by this fear of liability.
Yeah.
Because that's not really very helpful.
Yeah.
You know, I saw a post that was like, when a friend is struggling, text them like, what do you want for dinner? I'm picking it up now to drop it off. Mm-hmm. Or what is an errand that like I can run for you? Like doing these daily activities that when we're in a tough spot are probably like maybe in the back of our brain kind of driving us crazy that like we can't do and we know it needs to be done, or just like a really real tethered support. I just really like the idea of that, of like not asking, are we okay? You know, like, hey, I'm going to do something for you that really needs to be done. And that's like how I'm going to show you I care.
Yeah, dude, when I'm all fucked up, well, on any day, actually, thinking about dinner stresses me out. And I'm not good at it, and it's terrible. So it's especially bad on days I want to die. It's like, yes, send me fucking dinner. Let's go. I'll take it.
I have a friend who is like acutely suicidal or attempting suicide a lot, and it's like our tradition for me to just like bust in with Taco Bell, which is terrible and has consequences that might make you want to die later. But it's really good in that moment. So yeah, I think like a lot of the things that I feel like we do, and when we're doing actual collective care, not co-opted bullshit, is stuff that's like really simple and just like things you do that you help people, right? It's just like loving. Nice.
What's that like?
People like to be loved.
I actually like, my therapist pissed me off so bad the other day. She canceled on me on a really bad day and at the last minute. And I'm just like, the way that you chose to support me in those moments, like, you really fucking failed.
Ooh.
Really fucking failed. My friends did a way better job.
Well, I guess I wonder what is supposed to be the role of a therapist in those moments too. Like, I mean, I don't know what your deal is with your therapist, because I feel like it's a deal, right? You ought to have a contract about it, but like there's like rules and shit with therapists, right? And so I wonder if like both therapists don't always know what they're signing up for, and then also like we don't know what we're signed up for, and then we're like everybody's disappointed because we didn't even talk about expectations.
I mean, yes, but I told my therapist I needed her, and there were all kinds of, rigid boundary things that were happening in terms of like, shit that could be bent. Like, I see that you don't have an office space right now, but I'm literally in the Chipotle next door. If I can choose to be like letting everyone around me hear about it, can we like work with that gray space on your end if I'm telling you that I need you and the only reason you can't see me is because you don't have a room for it? I know that Anastasia probably has thoughts on this. I haven't talked to you about this yet.
Yeah, I didn't know that detail. I mean, I saw your post about it, and yeah, I mean, I think I'm a therapist who shifts for my clients because the relationship is there, and obviously there's like capacity, but I think it's that thing of like, if you can't provide the thing, you can still provide something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it should be so like all or nothing. I think folks have different boundaries about these things, and I think that that's fine. I mean, I think like my typical way of being when a client reaches out and is like, I need you in this kind of way, is to try to be present in the way that I can be, which may not be exactly how they want me to be, but I think just to give someone a sense of like, I'm here and I care about you, and like, I can do what I can do, and there's both, and also there's other folks, and like, let's think about that together. And, like, clients text me and I respond, and I think people hear that and they're like, oh, don't you spend your whole life on the phone? And I'm like, no, because when you have mutual respect for somebody, they tend to only reach out and ask for that when they genuinely need it. And when they genuinely need it, that is a part of my job, I feel.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure some therapists tuning in are probably annoyed that I'm saying that, but I just think there's this like misconception of like this like needy client who's going to like hysterically text you every second of every day, but that's not real. I think that's actually really pathologizing and shitty. Like, and I think also if someone has the sense that you would be there if you could in the moments that you can't, that actually carries them too, like to have the sense of person desires to help me or support me, and if they're not able to do it for X, Y, or Z reason, to like know that. I mean, I think that's so much more than clients who often get like labeled as borderline, like have not had, I mean, that's all trauma based, right? Like somebody who's not had adequate care in different ways, responding to that with behaviors, because it's terrible to feel like you're not cared about at all. So I think that that's a part of it. Like that situation, I mean, I don't know all the details. I'll have to come over later and talk it out. But yeah, I mean, I went on a walk with a client in the park in the last month, and it was totally a good idea and seemed right. I will send clients an occasional emoji when it feels like they just need a little bit of support. Like, I think you can be creative and stay within your own boundaries. I think there's limits to what you can do, but I think being able to do something is actually not hard, and it's not outside the realm of like what we should be doing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, she tells me all the time, she's like, call me if you need me, and I don't like the phone, number one. But it was also Friday, and I wanted to respect her time. I wanted to respect her weekend. I knew I was going to see her on Monday. And then, like, I was there, and she was like, I can't see you because I don't have a room. And I was like, oh, this is the worst time for all of this. And she's always pushing me to be vulnerable. And I was just there for all of it. And then she bailed on me. And I was like, a lot of my trust shit had been broken, too. So, bad. But anyway, we're off track now. We have 10 minutes left. Sorry.
Well, I do think, I do think that way, like, in both friendship and peer support, and I guess in any relationship, right, you should constantly be navigating and discussing boundaries, because, like, boundaries aren't, like, limits aren't saying that you don't care about people. That's a way that you show care. Mm-hmm. Holding people, like, accountable for things is a way that you show care. Like, as long as you're holding people to, like, things that you collectively agree upon, that's a way of showing care. So I think it's fine as a friend too to have a boundary about how much you can do, as long as you're doing what you can.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's sort of the thing for everyone.
What just happened to Carly?
I see her.
Oh, I don't know. You looked sad or something.
Oh no.
Okay. Just checking.
Not sad.
Doing a check-in.
I mean, I'm like my baseline sad, but not
sad.
Sorry, just started thinking about the koalas, Des.
Look, I don't know. Is there an animal that makes you happy right now? Dogs. I heard you would die for a dog.
Yeah. I would. There's actually only one animal I hate, and it's geese. Every other animal.
Dicks.
Great.
Geese are dicks.
They're
jerks.
Geese are terrible people. What?
One more question.
What question?
I am interested in what we think the relationship is between, or how different, like slow suicide or passive suicide is. What's the relationship there with self-injury or self-harm, like non-suicidal self-injury? Because I think those two get conflated a lot also. No one has anything to say.
I mean, I think the goal can be different, and I think that's relevant, right? Like,
yeah.
I think that those like behaviors that could be classified as one or the other can have the same goal, but they don't necessarily. And I think knowing what someone's goal is relevant and important.
Yeah. I think
I like rarely. Oh
no, go ahead.
I know that self-harm and suicide get put together a lot, and I think it just really misses the point. And intent is always a part of that, but like self-harm really feels to me what is going to keep a person here. So like, I don't know why it gets conflated with suicide. I'm like, no, that's what they're doing to not do the suicide thing. And I think with passive, it's just being that like apathetic. For me, it was like, I would like prefer to die, but I kind of don't want to take any action, and I don't care either way, just really stuck in this limbo. Day to day, it's like, I'm not going to take any action, but like, I'm not really enthused about being alive. Like I am never like a 14 out of 10 would recommend life kind of person. And it's like, that's different from like suicide, right? Like when we talk about being like, I'm a 7 out of 10 on my suicidal ideation, then that's like a real darker place for me. But like most of the time it's like, I'm just not happy to be alive. Like, I'm not necessarily ready to take any action, but like,
Yeah.
The living embodiment of the shrug
that
emoji.
covered that.
Yep.
Jess, did you have anything to add to that?
Oh, I don't know. I was going to ramble about... I didn't have anything necessarily cohesive put together.
Ramble. Do a ramble.
When I was young and I was hurting myself, I definitely had, like, suicidal feelings. Like, I definitely wanted to die, but, like, I think hurting myself did keep me here, but that wasn't what I wanted. I don't know. It was really fucking confusing. As I got older, it became more of a way to actually stay here, to deal with specific feelings. So it kind of evolved. And now I don't know. Now I just drink.
Oh, yeah.
I told you that wasn't going to make sense.
That's all right. I think it's fine.
I feel like similarly, or maybe not similarly, I feel like I should have said this when we didn't have 2 seconds left, but I mean, a lot of the work I do and my own experience around being like chronically ill and or disabled is like just acknowledging that like being alive is actually like a really active choice for somebody who's chronically ill and or disabled. And like, I think a lot of that gets like bound up in all of this. Like, is it self-harm to not take your meds? Is it suicidal? Is it some mix of those two things? And like, I think I don't have an answer to that, but I think that just like comes up for me a lot in my work and my life. Like, you know, I think the average kind of like non-ill, non-disabled person can kind of like coast along for a long time. And like, that's not the case for me or a lot of the folks I work with. And yeah, like that's a hard thing to like have to choose really actively to be alive, even when you feel like, yeah, like not 10 out of 10 would recommend, maybe like 3 out of 10 would maybe go to the, you know, maybe rent it on cable. But
I never would have understood that, or even any version of that, rather. I can't say that I understand that statement, but like pregnancy after being infertility after being suicidal for your whole life, and then like trying to fucking get a baby going is such like, you have to try to be alive all the time. Extra fucking alive, to then have something else going on in there, and then you have both of you and you want to kill yourself. It's not good.
Trying that hard to be alive sounds fucking horrible to me.
Super not fun. Yeah. Also would not recommend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we have 2 minutes.
Well, anybody have some final thoughts? Mine is that embodiment is a prison.
Hard snaps to that.
Way to lighten it up. Way to lighten it up.
Anybody else have a final thought?
Dogs raise the like out of 10 scale. Any animals, really.
Oh my God.
Like pet like 5 dogs, and then I might be like, I'm like a solid 7 out of 10 today on the enthusiasm scale. That dog deserves literally all the treats on this planet.
Talk
you
about
feed them treats right now.
Trying to stay alive. This 15-year-old will just not leave me. Good thing, because I'm going to jump in the funeral pyre with him when he goes. So.
Christ.
Yeah, my cat, I have like 2 geriatric cats. One is an asshole, but they make my life a lot better.
Well, I'm mad at both of my dogs, so.
Hey, we all have a geriatric animal. At least one.
Mine pisses on everything all the time.
Mine too. It's piss anarchy in my apartment. It was piss anarchy 2019. It spilled over. It's piss and poop anarchy 2020. I'm terrified to go home after being gone for 4 days.
Oh man.
These were excellent final thoughts, everyone.
Piss anarchy and good night.
I don't feel like I have anything better to wrap this up. Embodiment is a prison. Geriatric animals. Piss and poop anarchy 2020.
Well,
Campaign slogan.
We have reached the end.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thanks. Good work, everyone. This was actually excellent. Thank you both very, very much for being on the show.
Yeah, that was pretty solid. I'm gonna hit the end button now.
Bye.
Say bye.
Bye.
Bye.